check, mic check. We're on. All right, we're live. Episode 8, 9, 8. Episode 8. Welcome to episode 8. This is episode 8. This is a bit confusing. I forgot what episode we're on. Welcome to the Creatives, everybody. We're back with another episode. Today, I am joined with Luke Webster. Luke Webster is known for some pretty awesome stuff in the city of Ottawa, which we will get into shortly. Before we get into the podcast, I just wanted to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Midnight Hour Studios. This is the beautiful space that we're in, and you can actually rent the space and get 25% off your first booking using the discount code TheCreatives, no capitals, no spaces. I'll put it in the description, so if you don't know how to spell that, it'll be down there. It's an awesome space, and it's awesome of them to support this show because we're trying to do a lot of these episodes because there's so many cool people in the city, and there's a lot to talk about. So I'll tell you a little bit about the motivation behind this podcast. Basically, I was feeling a little lost. I wanted to explore kind of creativity because it was a time when I started this, I was feeling like a little like down on creative energy, and I just wanted to see if other people could relate with me in any sort of way. And the more I do this, the more I realize like we're all kind of feeling similar things and we all face similar challenges, and it's kind of evolving into a platform for people to express what they do, express the work they do, showcase that the work they do. And I'm loving it. Every episode, we'll learn a bit more. We've spoken with like a film director. We've spoken with photographers. We've spoken with cinematographers. We've spoken with, who else did we speak to? A music producer. And now we're speaking with you, Luke.
The outcast here.
The outcast. Not the outcast. This is creativity. Creativity can't be put in a box. So the podcast was created with the goal of exploring creativity, because like creative thinking is more than just like, oh, you can use a paintbrush. It's finding a unique way to either solve a problem or approach something, and that is why I invited you on, Luke. So I'm not going to give the intro for you. I would like you to tell us what makes you a creative and what do you do? Like, who are you?
Well, I'm Luke Webster.
Hi.
I run Bad Dog. We're a vintage secondhand clothing shop here in Ottawa, located in the Glebe on Bank Street.
Nice.
I'm basically just an average Ottawa dude and just enjoy curating clothing and just having a spot for people to enjoy.
I love that. It's so humble. It's awesome. It's
just pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah, dude.
Like what you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your time. I know it's your time is valuable when you run an awesome store. Bad Dog Co. Bad Dog
Co. Yeah, like Bad Dog Company is like the technical name of it. We just stylize it as Bad Dog Co.
I love it.
Just Bad Dog if you want, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever works.
I want to get into like kind of the evolution of that shortly.
Yeah.
But basically, so like through this conversation, you know, I hope to just see your process, see kind of the things that challenge you, see why you do this, and kind of what you hope for the future. And it's just nice to have these deep, like long format conversations because they're kind of getting lost, I feel, in society. So I'm trying to bring them back, long format.
And that's why I like being, I was excited about when you even offered me to be on this because like you said, with creativity, sometimes you just get in like a little rut, you know, and you need something to bring that spark back. And I think it's having conversations like this, or even like listening to people talking about subjects like this, that can really bring that spark back for you or inspire you a little bit.
Absolutely, man. That's true. You said that. It is, these conversations and these podcasts they are giving me energy because every time I have a conversation, I'm just like, I'm pumped after.
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. Like, you know, someone else I can relate to, and like, I'm not alone, you know, because I feel like it's easy to feel like you're alone and that no one else feels similar things to you because on the surface, everything looks perfect, but
it's this whole era of like the social media that we're in. I feel like we see so much, but yet have never felt more disconnected from everyone, you know?
Yeah.
If anything, we're more disconnected or more connected than ever, but it feels the complete opposite, you know? It's
very ironic.
Weird. So it's nice to bring back some stuff like this.
Nice,
real
man.
Conversations, you know?
Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm looking forward to learning about your journey and getting into this beautiful rack of clothing we have behind us, which we'll talk about shortly. There's some really cool stuff here with some cool stories, which we'll get into. This podcast is also supported by Pano Media, powering the production and all of the tools we are using to record this podcast. And I want to give a shout out to our editor, Mr. Ryan Dennis. He is working hard behind the scenes to edit these episodes while I'm out here shooting, and we're going to have Ryan on the show one day so you can meet the mystery man behind the edits. So without further ado, we'll jump into the show. So, Luke, why don't we start with kind of like origin story? Who are you?
The origin story.
Yeah,
I like that.
Like the like scene cuts away. It's raining. It's black and white now, and it's like Luke Webster is born. And then up until now, we compress that. Like what's the origin story?
Damn, we're getting right into it. All right. I mean, I'm born and raised in Ottawa. Like, first of all, lived here my whole life. Never really wanted to really leave Ottawa. I don't know how far back you really want to go, but clothing is what I do, and clothing's something that I've like always been into since I was a kid. Yeah. I think I just never really realized that it could actually be something I could make a living from until like more recently, really.
That's really cool. So how were you, like when you were a kid and you said you were into clothing, like usually when you're a kid, it's like your mom buys you a shirt and you're like, I don't like this shirt. Like, no, that was me at least. Yeah. You're like, whatever, my mom got me this shirt, it's whatever. So how, like, can you tell me about how you were into clothing as a kid?
I think the big part of it for me is like I had older brothers. Okay. So my brothers are 10 and 12 years older than me. So there's quite an age gap there. So yeah, when I was like a little kid, they were like teenagers, you know, so they were actually like caring about what they're wearing, and they were into skating. So they'd wear like a lot of like skateboard kind of stuff, or like it was that whole like the Roca wear sort of era, like all that sort of stuff, you know.
Roca wear? What's
that?
Just
like the whole streetwear, like the early 2000s kind of era where everything was like super baggy, just like, you know, like that was the style. Yeah. So I think it was always just kind of came from looking up to them. Okay. Because when I was a kid, I was just like, I wanted to just look like my brothers, do everything that my brothers did, you know. Awesome. So when my brother worked at a skate shop at the time in Canada that was called Riders Village. Really old shop that a lot of people from Ottawa might not even remember, but
are they still open?
No, they closed down years ago. But that for me, like when my brother was working there, that was my like first source of like getting like cool stuff, because he would like, you know, he'd get the stuff there and could like bring it home for me or whatever. And
he got a discount probably, like
stuff. Yeah. I don't know what, like I was a kid, so I don't even know like what the deal was that he was getting it for.
But he was getting you stuff.
Yeah, he'd get me stuff. That's amazing. They didn't do like kid sizes, so he'd just get me like an adult small, and it'd be like huge on me. But that's amazing. I was just stoked because I was like, I had the shirts that I wanted, you know. Yeah. So I think for me, that's really where it came from. It's just like, it's kind of been ingrained in me since I was a kid. I've always just like cared about what I've worn. I've never liked dressing up, but I've always like cared about what I've worn. It's funny because it's like a sweater and pants is just like my average outfit every day, but like I just enjoy the items that I wear. That's just always been something for me.
Do you find it's like it's a form of communication almost, like you kind of communicate with what you wear?
Definitely, dude. For me, like I make outfit contact before I make eye contact, you know, like I'm looking at what you're wearing before I look at you. You know what I mean?
I feel judged, man. Like should I go change?
It's a very individual thing though, you know, because I think like some people don't care about that, but then some people, that's like their world, you know. Like it's funny because for me that really is my world. Like I make a living doing that, you know. And it's like it really is like everything for me. And it's like I feel like it's a big way to express your individuality, you know. Like you can really, just from wearing a certain something, you can show someone what you're into or what you do, or you know, these days you can brand yourself that way. You can advertise your own company just by wearing a shirt with it on, you know. And
absolutely,
it really is like a form of advertisement, a form of expression. It can even be like a form of art depending on how you put it together.
Interesting. I like that. Yeah, I've made like company shirts and like shirts with like my brand logo on them, and just giving them out and like to people.
It's free advertising.
It's cool because it's like, you know, they get a free shirt. From them gets a free shirt, and then you get some promotion.
Exactly.
But that's really awesome. So you liked the clothes when you were a kid, and then as time progressed through your teenage years into your, you know, early 20s, like what did you do with that passion? Was it just a self-expression, or did you kind of try to take it a step further before you ended up here?
Teenage years, you obviously get to that point where you start to be a bit more like you're in high school and you're trying to wear what everyone else is wearing, sort of thing. You know, you get to that point, but I think I kind of, after like grade 9, 10, I kind of realized I was getting into that mold, and then I tried to find things again that could kind of get me back to being myself. So by the end of high school, I was getting like really into like, I was loving like Huff and Stussy, like Supreme. That was like a lot of the stuff that I was getting into then. Okay. And obviously with that comes like, there is a big resale market of it. So I think a lot of like the earliest like profiting of clothing for me was just like getting Supreme that like wasn't my size or wasn't my style or whatever, and then, you know, just flipping it online. It's like I realized you could actually just make some money doing that.
You were flipping. So were you buying new items and flipping them?
Yeah, the Supreme drops like it's every 11 a.m. on like a Thursday. So you just like you log on. If you like get stuff quick enough, like it sells out. You know, back then when Supreme was really having its like era, like it would sell out in like a couple minutes. And if you managed to get your hands on any of it, like it instantly went up in value. You know.
So that was your first instance of kind of like taking a unique or rare piece of clothing and selling it.
Yeah,
for
just
a
taking
profit.
any clothing and making money on it. Because before that, to me, it was like I never really saw clothing as something as you could sell. It's like I'd buy it for, you know, I'd pay $100 for a hoodie, but I always thought the end of the road of it was just like you donated it or whatever. But
okay.
I think though it was like a brand like that made me realize like, oh, there's actually like a whole market that even exists for this, you know?
That's awesome.
To like sell it.
That must have sparked like a fire inside you, and you're like, when you started to attach like a business kind of value to clothing. Now you're no longer just not wasting your money, but you're no longer indulging in fancy brands. You're now like, this is an investment.
I mean, that was the funny thing then. It was right in my face. I hadn't even realized it because I was making this little profit, but to me it was always something that was like, it was on the side. Yeah. You know, I never actually looked at it as like a business. I was always like, oh, like if I sell this, then it'll pay for like this other item that I buy.
Buy the
you know,
next
like
one?
I was using it to like just get my own stuff for free, really.
Which is awesome. But
then I think I mean, all of this really more, you know, the whole vintage, like doing that more so, that really came together more once I got with my girlfriend, Sian. So she's the co-owner of the business with me.
That's awesome.
You know, my second half and life and business.
Awesome. So you guys founded the business together?
We found it together. Yeah. We've always, since the start, we've done literally everything with it together. It's full 50-50.
That's awesome, dude.
So I think it really started like when we were first dating and hanging out, like one of our like first dates was like thrifting together because we were both into thrifting.
Yeah.
And it was doing it together that like opened our eyes. Like we started talking about like other items that we'd find that weren't like for us, but we talked about the idea of like we could still grab them and then sell them to like a friend or like whoever wanted it. So that's really where the whole like vintage more so started for us, was actually doing like being in the thrifts and finding it that way.
Yeah, it was just like a fun hobby kind of.
It was just fun, yeah.
You connected over, which turned into Bad Dog, which is, you know, this beautiful store that you have in the Glebe today.
Thank you.
It's an awesome shop. If you haven't visited, I'll put all the info for how you can get there. Or just Google Bad Dog Ottawa and you'll find it. There's no other store in the city called Bad Dog.
Google vintage shop and
it'll come up.
It'll come up. Yeah, it's like there's so little in Ottawa that
it's a niche market, and it's
growing. It's growing.
It's growing, and you entered at a very young age. So good for you, man. That's really cool. I remember when I first saw the shop when you were back like closer to
the first location,
closer to Lansdowne, and I was like, oh wow, this guy's like pretty young, and he's got like a store, like a brick and mortar store, and like I was like, how is this even possible? I didn't realize. So it's cool that you found a way to make it, and I want to.
We didn't even know it was possible, dude.
You did it, you know. Yeah. And I want to get into like so Bad Dog. Can you tell me? So your passion for clothing kind of led you into this kind of. You kind of went into this path of buying and selling clothing.
Yeah, the passion just led me to just like getting clothing. Like that was the big thing, was just like whether it was like just going thrifting to find like some cool stuff for cheap, whether it was like buying the Supreme, like it was like whatever way you could get it. I was just like, the whole goal then was more just to get it for myself. Even when I was selling then, it was more just to fund it for myself.
Gotcha.
But I think once me and Sian started dating, we kind of both opened each other's eyes to like that there was actually like more of a market in the vintage stuff than we had even realized. Like we kind of realized we could be thrifting, still find the stuff we want, but when we find stuff that's not like our size, not our style, we can still grab it and then just sell it to like one of our friends or like whoever's interested in it. So it really started that way. We were just we had like an Instagram at the time. Like we would just throw like a little picture of it up on the Instagram, and it, you know, at first it would maybe take like a few days for like a friend to grab it, and then we got to a point where we'd like list stuff and it was just like selling like that.
Sounds like I want it right
everything
away.
Was going, and then we were both just working, you know, whatever jobs. We didn't really, you know, we were doing stuff, but weren't really necessarily on like a path, you know. And I think
just kind of getting like working just to make money.
Exactly.
To kind of get by. How old were you at the time?
We were like 20, 21 at the time.
That's
like when we opened the store, I was still 21 at the time when we had actually got the brick and mortar. But before that, what really inspired us is we went traveling. So with the jobs that we were working, the main thing was like we like to just be able to have time to like leave whenever we wanted, because we knew we just wanted to like travel. Like we're young, like that's, you just want to experience some stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So we, LA was like our first big trip that we did together.
Nice.
I think LA was the big one that we're like, there's whole streets of like vintage stores, and we're like, dude, this is so sick.
You just got lost in vintage
There's
stores.
markets, like there's so many, like every store of every clothing brand is in LA. Like we were just immersed in just like the fashion clothing world, and like you walk outside and it's like a fashion show there, man. Like you think you're wearing we'd be like at In-N-Out, like a burger place, and the dude in front of you is wearing like the craziest, most valuable outfit you've ever seen. It's like, that's
just getting
that's
burger.
LA,
Drop some mayonnaise on the shirt.
On like, the Gucci.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so funny.
So I think that really opened our eyes just in general to like the whole scene that was really out there in the world of this.
Yeah.
And then it was once we did like a Europe trip. So when we went to Europe, we did like London and Paris. We were doing we did Dublin,
which are like pretty well known for their fashion industry, right?
And they're a lot more like LA. It's there, and LA is huge. But I think going to Europe, it's a whole different level. I mean, like fashion comes from Europe. Everything we wear, the style, it always originates from Europe. So I think it was going there, like going around like the London markets. I think that was what, that's what really showed us the kind of store that we really thought we could do.
So did you see other stores there, and you were like, oh crap, like someone's already doing this. I want to do this.
Well, it made us realize like a business like that could actually even exist. Like before that, I was hunting for my stuff in the thrifts or whatever way I could find it, because I was like, there's nothing in, where do I find this stuff? Like
you wanted the stuff.
I want this cool old stuff. Like I want an old Grateful Dead. I want an old Harley Davidson. But like where do you just go and find it? You know what I mean?
I mean, you could take yourself to like eBay, but like
it's
a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Because technically someone could hit you up and be like, I'm looking for this. Can you help me source it? And like, would you do that? Or you would see what you most likely have if they're looking for something.
Like it used to be easier when we were a smaller store, because we could deal a lot more with like one-on-one with clients. But I think now like I'd love to be able to do that, but we're at a point where even just like running the store takes like our whole energy, So like people all the time will say stuff they're looking for, and I'll definitely keep it in my back of my mind. But sometimes it's hard to remember like exactly what someone wants. And there's also been so many times where someone's like, yo, if you get me this, like I need it, you source it, and then it's like they disappear, It's like, so it's like we just try to constantly put together a store that's just the kind of stuff that we feel like people would like. Everything that's in the store is fully curated by us. Like not an item goes in the store that we don't like. Yeah. It's like all based off of like our taste, basically.
I like it. And you do have a wide taste. It's not like you're only getting one certain type of clothing.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I love looking at your Instagram, the way you kind of display the clothes on the floor and like show it, and like you're showing people like, hey, like this is what we got. And then the comments, it's like, oh, what size is that? And then they're gone.
They go quick. They go quick sometimes.
That's really cool. It's cool because I've been to all those places that you've mentioned, but I never indulged in the fashion industry. I went there for different reasons, and I didn't experience that. So it's cool that you say there's like a big scene and like a kind of culture.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's so funny with travel that like how people can go to the same places but see such different things just because of what they're looking for.
Exactly.
Like we were going to these little tiny back roads and alleys and stuff, just looking for like the stores. It's like you can almost have a whole different experience of a city just based on like what you're into.
And then like you ask one store and he tells you about the next store and then the next store. So did you then, when you came back, or once you after these travels and you came back to Ottawa, where you're like kind of sitting around like, why has no one done this yet?
Well, so it's really funny because we did LA. When we got back from LA, we kind of had an idea, like we wanted to start a business, but our mindset more then was like doing like a coffee house. Okay. Which is like so funny. Like I don't know where that came from. We just kind of like had this whole idea. It was just, just when you get like a little inspiration, then you talk about it. So that was like our little back of the mind kind of idea. So we kind of had that in mind. Actually, it was before we went to LA. Then when we got back from LA, that kind of flipped once we had seen the vintage stores there. Because then our mindset flipped from like doing coffee and like clothing on the side to just like, oh, we could just do clothing. Like we could just do this. So then that was in like the January 2018 that we went to LA. We kind of took, we were taking our time a bit, just like figuring out like how we wanted to go into the clothing. And then we did the Europe trip, and then that's what really like solidified it for us. Like once we went to Europe, we're like, we need to get back and we need to find a lease.
Yeah.
Like we need to just do this because that's gonna be our life. Like we got to do it.
Did you have any inspiration? Like, did you know anyone that had opened a store and was young and you were kind of like looking up to them, and or you just knew you needed a store and you figured it out on you just?
I think we just wanted to do it because there was like we just wanted a store like this in Ottawa. So we're like we might as like someone's got to do it.
I love
so
that.
we might as well. Like why shouldn't it be us? Like why don't we just do it? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Was it scary at the time, or you're like?
Oh, dude, it was terrifying.
Because you're signing a lease and you're in for a lot of money that you have to pay if you can't make it back, right?
It's also hard to even get a lease. That's the thing. I always thought I thought you could just go to these places, sign a paper, and just start giving them money. But it's like they want you to prove that you can get them that money, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like, you know,
we don't want you to if you can't. So did you have to like give them like what a business plan and like?
Yeah, they wanted. I mean,
nothing to show for.
Because when you're 21, it's like hard to prove yourself. You know, like most places just kind of laugh you out of there as soon as they like realize your age. But I think we just got kind of lucky with. The landlord was just someone that had started their own business quite young as well. So I think she just kind of saw a lot of herself in us. So I think she took that risk with us just because like she just liked us as people. Yeah. I think we just kind of got lucky with like the connection that way. That's amazing. Because honestly, like any other why would you? Why would you lease to a 21-year-old that literally is going in a business for their first time? You know, like
clothes, guys.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fine.
It sounds like such a risk, man. Like I get it.
Yeah,
from a landlord point of view.
That's cool, man.
So it was terrifying at first because you're like taking on a lease and you just had all right, by the end of this month, like we have to give them this money. You know? Like,
yeah, but you took that risk. You leaped right into it.
It's the age to do it. That's what I always tell people. Like it's the younger you do stuff, the earlier you take the risk, the less you have to lose.
That's true.
Because people talk about all the time, like, oh, I'll do this when I'm older. But it's like once you're older, you're gonna have kids, you're gonna have a house with a mortgage, and it's gonna suck if it doesn't work out then, because you're literally like screwed.
I know.
For us, we're 21. We're like, if it doesn't work out, whatever. We're right back to where we started. We'll just do something else. You know, like.
Yeah, that's an incredible piece of advice. And
start young.
You just gotta jump 2 feet. Like what the worst that can happen is you die. Like in anything that you do. Like no matter like
it's true.
I'm like I don't know. I like to bring the worst case scenario to the forefront, because then I'm like, okay, if I start a business, I'm probably not gonna die. I may go broke. I may lose my I may get all these stuff.
The broke one's a lot more likely.
Yeah,
but the death one is. It's less likely.
It's there. No, but I mean, all this is to say, it's just like I try to put the scary things into perspective, because it's like what is scary is not actually like life threatening.
It's in your mind, really. It really all is in your mind.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. So you started. You're now on your second storefront. You have your second. You're the second shop.
Like we have one store, but this is our second location.
Right. Same company, same brand.
Yeah, we've just
second location.
We've upgraded. We moved.
Yeah, cool.
We moved up the street.
And you're in one of my favorite places in Ottawa, the Glebe.
Oh, my favorite. I love the Glebe. I love the Glebe.
If you don't know where the Glebe is, if you're listening to this from out of town, the Glebe is a very vibrant kind. It used to be the suburbs to like downtown Ottawa, and it very quickly became part of downtown Ottawa. So it's just like these old big manor houses, but
it's kept its character.
That's what's so cool.
You're like 10 minutes from downtown, but yet like it feels like a little neighborhood. Yeah. Like it feels so chilled out and quiet. I mean, once you go to Lansdowne area, it's different. Like it's crazy down there, but it's still our side of the Glebe's nice. It's like it's nice and chill down there.
Yeah, like
peaceful little area.
Endless coffee shops, little cafes. Really good food.
That's the other thing. It's all small businesses. There's like you're getting a few popping up now, obviously, but it's still mostly like small independent businesses, which it's so cool. It's the best. There's so many great spots there.
For sure. And I guess that's played in your advantage because it's a very popular place to walk because of all these businesses. So do you have a lot of people kind of come in?
Oh yeah,
just
big time.
They just walk by. Oh, what's this? Oh, cool.
And when we were looking for locations, like we didn't even have a question in our mind. Like it was going to be the Glebe. It had to be the Glebe.
Glebe or nothing.
Yeah.
Like you didn't even consider any other ones.
We were looking in like Centertown and stuff, but I was like, no, like I want to be in the Glebe.
It's a good pairing. It's an old pocket of the city, old homes,
a lot of history there,
and then you're bringing You're bringing old history. You're literally
we're bringing it
on
back.
Theme. It's cool. It's trendy. It's whatever. And then it's old stuff. So
it's old stuff.
It's old stuff. I love old stuff. Personally, I I love cars, as you may know.
Yep.
I know you and I share a bit of a common.
I feel like that's kind of what we originally like connected a bit more over.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of how we met really.
Over cars and like a common friend, like you knew Julian.
Yeah.
Julian took me into your store. I've known Julian since I was in like grade 8. One day we were just walking. He took me into your shop, and I was like, and then we're like, oh, like you have the same car as me, and and then we just got to chatting, and then
yours a lot nicer. I will say yours is beautiful.
Thank you.
Yours inspires me.
Thank you.
You're literally like I look at yours and I'm like, dude, I wanna do this with mine.
Thanks, dude. It's a 2002 Jetta, if anyone's wondering. I'll take you for a drive in it one day. It's cool. It makes a lot of noise. It's got me in a lot of trouble in the past.
Wookie noises.
Yeah, I had to quiet it down last year because like it was just
a lot of attention.
It was too loud.
Yeah.
You know, so I won't incriminate myself on my own podcast about the list of things that are, you know, in the gray area, but kind of onto the cars thing. So I love cars. I know you love cars, but in tying into the old stuff, old clothing, Bad Dog being a vintage shop.
Old stuff's the best.
Old stuff is the best.
Old stuff is the best. They don't make it like they used to for everything.
I feel like it's not, they don't make it like they used to because of a number of reasons, you know, whether it's sourcing actual materials or just the incredibly large demand for stuff. They just can't make it the same anymore.
And just like corporate greed is the ultimate killer. Like companies just want to make the most money. And like you're going to do that by just slapping a bunch of plastic and crappy parts on your car. You know, at the end of the day, it makes them more profit. That's why they do it.
Which is unfortunate. I personally like find it so satisfying to bring an old item, whether it's a car, whether it's a piece of furniture, whatever it is, and bring it back to life and then use it. Yeah. But then you add like modern touches to it. Yeah. So an example is like taking like my, 25-year-old car and putting a like CarPlay stereo in it. And then now my phone is powering my car and I can open my garage from the radio of my 25-year-old car. And it's just like modernizing these old things. But
it's still a manual. And you can still like, it still feels that original like rawness.
Absolutely. And I find old stuff induces like energy. Like it has an aura, right? Like old stuff.
It really does.
Has an aura and it inspires me. Like I've been around a lot of cars in my life. Like the new cars it could be the nicest $300,000 Mercedes Benz, and like, yeah, it's cool. And I hop back in my old car, and I'm like, the smell, the feeling, the creaks, just everything about the older stuff. I feel because it has people have experienced things with it, and I wonder if you feel the same about clothing. Where it's definitely, like, man. You have these items of clothing, and because you're passionate about clothing and expressing yourself with clothing, do you find certain clothing like inspires certain thoughts and inspires you to feel a certain way?
Definitely, man. Definitely. I mean, like, that feeling like when you get in an old car, like you get in like a, someone's like 85 Beamer, like you feel like you're a dude in the 80s just getting, like you literally feel like it when you get in the car. And to me, it's kind of the same with clothing. Like you can throw on this old like festival or like concert tour shirt or whatever, and it's like, it's as close as you'll get to kind of feeling like you were there, like one of the shirts I got back here is a 94 Pink Floyd. That's all like faded out. Like you can tell someone went to this 94 Pink Floyd concert, had the best time of their lives, and just like wore this shirt forever after that. And it's like this shirt's so faded and it's got holes and stuff. Like it literally has like stories to tell.
That's so cool.
And I think like you can obviously you give it a new life when you wear it, you give it like new stories, but you really, I don't know, when stuff's old, like it really does have that energy. It does. And you really can't explain it to someone that doesn't,
because it can't be explained in words. It's something that's felt. It's not explained, and it's one of my not biggest issues, but like with the way the thing is, I feel like everything's just trying to be explained with words, but you just can't. No, it's like it's a feeling. It's nostalgia, and
even as I'm trying to explain it right now, I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. But even when you talk about that shirt, like I'm thinking like somewhat like, because I have some shirts that like I've got at a concert that fire me up. One of my favorite artists got the shirt, and like when I wear the shirt, I'm pumped. I'm like,
you have your own story with
exactly.
it.
And then so someone has their own story with that Pink Floyd shirt, and like they did their hair, they smell nice, and they left the house wearing that shirt feeling good. And then it literally went through, I don't even know how many different events before it ended up on the shelf here.
Dude, some of this stuff, you're like, who knows what happened in it, you know? Like, sometimes you'll have, like, a little stain, and you're like, what happened here, you know? Like, what's the story with this?
In-N-Out burger, just eating ketchup drops on the shirt. Man, that's crazy. That's so cool. I
think
it's the story.
And I think old stuff, it really is the character with it. And I think just old stuff in general, I've always been into, again, going back to my family. Like, my parents have both always had the mindset of, like, if it's not broken, fix it.
Yeah.
So, like, it's like
don't replace it because it's broken.
Yeah. Just keep it going, sort of thing. Like,
literally,
and
same. Dude.
And just showing how, like, quality lasts. Like, they've, we have couch sets in our house that are from, like, in the 80s still. That's awesome. And my dad got a 2000 Toyota Celica.
No way.
When it came out, the GTS.
Is that with the 4 like bug looking headlights? Or is
no,
it's
the newer kind of gen.
Gotcha.
So he got that when he came out, and it, like, he still has it.
That's amazing.
And it's like it's always been so cool to me and my family. It's like they really keep stuff going.
That's amazing.
And it's like I just love it because, like, we've always had everything that I had when I was a kid, like, we still have it because it's like it's still we just keep stuff going
because it doesn't break. Like, yeah. You don't need to replace it because it's broken.
No.
My family's been the same. My dad would always teach me how to fix things, and he was a mechanic, and he worked with cars his whole life, and he taught me how to be hands-on, and like I'll only get rid of something if it's absolutely like thrashed or broken. Because you can just repurpose it.
Exactly.
You can the amount of lawnmowers and snowblowers and stuff I found on the side of the road that I've we picked them up and we fixed them, and then, like, that was like a little
throw
flip.
Out the craziest stuff.
I know. That used to be like a little flip I would do, like, buy anything with a small engine or find anything with a small engine on the side of the road and give it a tune-up.
Which is so funny because most people are throwing them out because all they did was, like, not put the right gas in it or something. Yeah. It's not running. It's like you're throwing it out. All I had to do is switch the gas and it's good now.
Yeah, it's because they store them with gas over winter.
Yeah, exactly.
And the gas gets, like, sludgy and it gets blocked up, but that's it. You can just fix it. So.
And the cars in general. That's always been a big thing for me. I got a big car family.
Yeah, you guys all like cars, eh?
Love cars. My parents picked up a 1984 VW Westphalia.
No way,
it's
dude.
Beautiful, man. That was their COVID purchase.
They got it probably before they went, like, crazy.
Before the market went nuts. Yeah, because my
them.
dad was like, he was on the fence about getting it because he's like, this is just so much to spend on like an old car.
Exactly.
But
now it's like triple in value.
Yeah, literally, because now he's like, okay, never mind. It's like an investment piece because it's literally like it's only going up.
I know. Oh, wow!
All right, we're back. Technical difficulties.
That was terrifying. We're experimenting with a new piece of audio. It's not new. This is a very old device. Speaking of old devices, this is I was working on a set with a guy named Stephen Lorne, who I will have on the podcast one day because he's just this guy. He's done so many cool things, and he's very. I think he sees audio. Like, he can see sound waves moving around, and just a wizard. So I was telling him about this podcast, and he lent me this old device. Basically, it has preamps to give these microphones a bit of a power boost because recording them into, like, a mobile recorder, it doesn't have enough power to give them juice. So this is like a 10, maybe 12-year-old device. Just here.
They don't make them like they used to, man.
They don't make them like they used to.
It goes for everything. Yeah, literally.
So before our minor glitch, which we'll probably cut and you won't even realize it happened. So your dad got the old car and
that was my
Westphalia.
That was their little, like, COVID kind of purchase,
nice.
Because they couldn't travel. Like, the wole world was locked down, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they wanted a way to still be able to get around a little bit. So that was their, like, a little purchase.
Yeah,
something fun to have, something with a bit of character, and you can still, like, it sleeps 4 comfortably. You got the kitchen, everything.
That's amazing.
So it's a nice way to be on the road,
isn't it?
Oh, it's slow as hell. Slow as hell. You got to be on, like, first gear to get up a hill. Literally. Yeah. He just pulls over. If anyone's, like, behind him, he just pulls over and just, like, goes in the shoulder to let everyone pass. Dude. Just, like, hand out the window. Yeah.
That's so funny. So I have a 1991 Mazda Miata MX-5, and there was one day.
Did you get that before the market went up? Because the market on those is
that was
so
my
stupid,
COVID
dude.
purchase. That was like, I don't know if I should buy this car. I don't need another car. Like, it's stupid. And I bought it for dirt cheap because had a lot of problems. But it's great. It's 30 years old. It still runs like freaking amazing, dude. They don't make them like they used to. No. The thing is bulletproof. unless you put it in a wall, but try not to do that, obviously. But I was driving down the road one day, and I literally pulled up next to an old VW bus, like pre-Westphalia, like hippie.
The bus.
The bus with the big logo. Yeah. And I was driving down the road in my early 90s sports car with this the 60s or 70s VW bus. And I was like, this exact thing has happened somewhere 30 years ago where this brand new sports car pulls up next to this slightly, old bus. And it's just, I waved at the guy and I was like, this is an experience. Like you can't get it. Like put me in
no, you can't.
$500,000 car and it won't put a smile on my face like that.
It's not the same. Just like the old, like you can put me in the newest, like crazy high boost car, like new car, but like you go in just like an old NA, nothing, like it just feels raw, dude.
Absolutely. So that's, I could tell. So yeah, you do clearly you're very passionate about this vintage stuff. And
I just like old stuff. Yeah. Old furniture, old cars, old clothing. Just, yeah.
And then you've made a business out of it that is awesome. It's a really cool shop. And I seriously highly recommend go check it out. Just literally, and look on their Instagram too. If you're trying to get something before and you want to lock it in, like look on their Instagram, Luke or Sian will post it and they'll be like, this is what we got. And they'll answer your message if you contact them. If you tell them, I'm going to come get this right now, you can get really awesome stuff. And we'll get into some of this stuff here after. But I want to know kind of about your process with vintage clothing. And you could talk about maybe how it's evolved or just kind of what it is now. If it's a secret, I don't know if it's a secret.
Some parts are like a little bit.
Okay, so you can keep the stuff that's gives you that competitive advantage, obviously. Yeah, your business, obviously you got your business. Yeah. But if you're willing to share your process and from sourcing the clothing to sale, like how does that all work?
So one of the big things that we do is we're buy, sell, trade. So that's like a big thing is like we buy every day in store. So not only do we sell every day in store, but you can also bring your old stuff in. So some people might be clearing out, sometimes we have parents clearing out their old collections from back in the 90s. Sometimes you just have someone sometimes it's actually stuff that's like from our store and they're just bringing it back like a year later just because they've like, worn it a bit. They're just like, wanting something new. And then what we do when you bring stuff in, we offer cash on the spot. Cool. And then we also offer like hire and store credit that you can use to just pick out some new stuff. So we always encourage people to like rotate their closets that way. So we do get like a good amount of stock that way. Like we've always encouraged people like bring your items in, get yourself some cash.
Is there like a certain criteria? Like obviously it has to meet a certain criteria, otherwise it doesn't qualify to be in the store.
if we won't sell it, we won't buy it.
Okay. So it's like a judgment call.
We stay away from a lot of newer stuff. Like 80s, 90s is our big eras. Like that's just the vintage eras that we really love. When it comes to 2000 stuff, like we will take some, but we're a bit pickier when it comes to 2000s.
In 10 years, will you take 2000 stuff? Or
oh yeah. Even now, like we're taking more 2000 stuff that I feel like we wouldn't have been a couple years ago. Because vintage is technically defined as 20 years or older. So every year a new item becomes vintage.
So I'm vintage.
2003 is vintage clothing now.
That's like the textbook definition of vintage is
20 years or older, technically.
20 years or older. Jesus.
A lot of old heads will like to dispute that, but you gotta.
I feel like
90s stuff is vintage now. You gotta admit it.
It's 2023.
Yeah, people come in and they're like, "This stuff's not vintage," and I'm like, "No, it is. It's just the years pass by pretty quick sometimes.
Just frame a dictionary with the definition of vintage. 20 years or older.
So we get some stuff that way, the buy, sell, trade. Occasionally we'll have people just hit us up that are looking to clear out their like old collection. So sometimes we go to people's house and do like buyouts.
Like they'll invite you over to be like, come see what I have.
Yeah, we've had some buyouts that way. We've like traveled a little bit for some of those sometimes. And then we also have like warehouses that we source from. So that's the more
cool,
the more secretive source.
Yeah, you're not gonna sell like this is where I get.
Yeah, technically, because
did that take you a while to build those relationships? And figure out.
A lot of these places aren't even like online. They're not like they're not open to like public. You know what I mean? They don't. They're not really supposed to be like having people like us just coming in there.
Fair enough. I mean, it's a great area. It's a piece of fabric. Like so. That's cool. So you get them from a number of different ways.
Yeah. So some of these warehouses, I can kind of give you like a rough idea of what they are. They're basically like textile warehouses. So, a nickname for them is like rag houses. So at like auto shops, they get those bags of like cut up rags. It's like old T-shirts or whatever that have been cut up. So those are just from rag houses. What they do is they're just cutting up like old T-shirts and stuff like that. It's pretty much stuff that never sold in the thrift store or was never even put out in the thrift store because it was like in too bad of condition for thrifts, like stains, holes.
Jeez.
So it ends up in these warehouses, and before they get cut up, they they go through these little conveyor belt kind of processes, and some people will kind of grab them out before they get cut up.
So this is just like those businesses and those places are intended to recycle the clothing, right?
Yeah. They've just realized that people like us can come in there and we can pay a bit more than mechanics would for the cut up versions of this stuff.
Interesting.
So that's cool. That's there's different kind of warehouses, like that's like rag houses, that's like the raw textiles, but there's other warehouses that just are vintage warehouses where like it's all pre-sorted.
Yeah, vintage. I can just imagine like the smell in one of those rag houses, like not necessarily bad, but like
even like pre-COVID, like you should be wearing a mask in those places.
Yeah,
like they're like
there's a lot. Because I remember like the smell of a thrift store. If you've ever been in a thrift store, I feel like it's a very distinct smell. Kind of moldy, kind of musky. Like
a lot of people associate that with vintage stores too. There's vintage stores can sometimes smell like that too
because it's in the fabric. I mean,
it's just old unwashed
number
clothes.
of years of sweat. And
that was a big thing for us with the store. We're like, one of our big things is like we never wanted to smell like a thrift store. So one of our things is like we wash and like stain treat like every item before it goes out. Like every item that's on the floor, even though it's 30, 40 years old, like it's ready to wear. It's clean.
I love it. Your store feel like you're buying a new piece of clothing.
That's what we try to do. Yeah.
It's like the ultimate used clothing showcase because it's like, again, there's no smell.
And you don't have to hunt. We we keep it like a small selection. We rotate our stock often. It's, you're not coming in having to dig through thousands and thousands of items. We just make it, we're taking the work out of it for people. That's always been like our whole idea.
I love that. So you go to these, so you source the clothes from many ways and then
infinite ways, dude. If any way we can get it.
And I'm sure, are you still finding new ways to get clothes?
Always. Yeah. I mean, there's literally infinite ways to get it, man. I mean, sometimes you can be driving down the street and just see like a shirt hanging on a fence, It's like I pull over and I check it, dude. Like
I don't blame you, man.
Yeah. You can literally find this stuff like everywhere. Everywhere.
Like you're kind of benefiting from mass consumerism and like just
in a way, yeah.
In a way, but you're also
we're kind of reversing the mass consumerism. I think we're trying to, fast fashion is so big, and we're trying to like slow it down a little bit. I think my big thing is like there's enough clothes in the world. We could just stop producing clothes right now. And for the rest of like human history, we would have enough clothing on Earth to last us all.
Yeah, like if there
people
was
just
like
get rid of their
Walmarts
shit too
of people doing vintage repurposing, like you are.
Even if more people were just open to used clothing, it's crazy. But there's a lot of people out there that just still will not touch used clothing.
Yeah.
Before doing our store, like my parents would never have worn used clothing, but now I got them. Like they'll wear stuff used now. I think it's all about just opening people's eyes to it.
Have you figured out why people won't wear used clothing? I
think the big thing is a lot of people see it as dirty, right?
Okay.
Like you see it like you're wearing this old T-shirt, like someone else has worn it. Like it feels all gross at first, but I'm like, people will think that with a shirt, but it's like you can wash it. But yet you'll go into like a mall and just happily sit and eat your food off the table there.
And you'll use a spoon at a restaurant that 4,000 people put their mouth on.
You're not thinking about that, but you're worried about a T-shirt, like it's,
that's true.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think it's, people just, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like people just need to step back a little bit and you can clean stuff, like you can get an old couch and you can clean it up. You can get old carpet, clean it up. Like you can do the same with your clothing,
I love that.
You can just clean it.
Especially because of how much like waste
there is nowadays. There's so much. I don't think people even realize.
I'm baffled. Like I work a little bit in like the automotive industry and I do some video production that way. And it baffles me how many new vehicles are purchased because I'm like, where are they going to park? Like, where are you going to put all these cars?
Or where'd all these old ones go? Like, where'd this?
Yeah, I'm out here. I'm like, I'll buy all the old ones. Give me all the old cars. Take them, I'm going to need a compound just to have like a bunch of vintage cars that are now, they're like the cars that are be classified as vintage in the next 10 years. I'm excited for that. I'm pumped for that because vintage 2010 cars are going to be freaking awesome. Some good ones. But so there's a lot of ties, I guess, to sustainability, right? With this industry.
Yeah.
Is that something that was that a kind of a motivation behind the store?
100%. Yeah, cool. Big time. That was one of the biggest parts of it, really. That's kind of why we were going to the thrifts to begin with. Like when I started going to the thrifts, I could always go and buy like a Stussy shirt new.
Yeah.
But I always thought it'd be really cool if I could find one that's like secondhand and
that's
like awesome. A lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So it's like it's win-win, you're not creating like a new item and you're saving some money at the same time.
Exactly. So given that, do you try to, assuming an item isn't like super rare, super hard to find, like how do you price these things?
Oh, it's all over the place. That's one of the hardest things to learn when you like first get into it. Okay. I mean, when we first opened the store, there was some stuff that we were selling way too high. And then there was some stuff that I look back and I'm like, we let go of this for stupid cheap.
Yeah. Like you didn't know, right? Like,
yeah.
So is the value just how much someone's willing to pay, or is the value based on what the shirt says, what's it made of?
It totally depends.
Condition.
These days it's a lot easier with like eBay, right? Because you can go on eBay sold listings. So like most shirts that we get, if we haven't like seen it before, you can just do a quick like eBay search. But even then it's so tough. Like one of them could have sold for 40 and then another one could have sold for $300. The way that we kind of do it is like our first thing that we've always kept in mind is like our own market. So we've always recognized like we're in Ottawa.
Right.
Ottawa's a little bit newer to this whole vintage secondhand clothing scene. So we've always felt like we have to price our stuff a bit below what the market technically is.
Right.
So even if an item's going for like $80 online, like we'll try to do it, maybe at like $50-$60 because, we just always try to do things under market.
Yeah.
Because Ottawa is still pretty new this. We're still trying to get like more people open to businesses like this.
It's cool because, I mean, even through this conversation, you're kind of opening up my eyes to why the hell haven't I purchased more vintage clothing? But I think it's because there's never really been a place.
And not even vintage. It's like secondhand. Like I'm into vintage, but I think like there's, even if you're into designer, even if you're in a brand new designer, every item of that has been sold is out there, and half of the people that bought it probably aren't wearing it now, and it's back just like in the used market, whether it ends up in a thrift, whether it's on Facebook Marketplace, eBay, whatever. It's like, it's out there,
It's out there. Yeah,
so whatever you want, new, old, like it's out there.
So basically, like, every single thing that's ever been made is still on the planet.
Yeah, exactly.
In some shape or form.
Unless it's like, some stuff gets incarcerated or whatever, but that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, but do you have any clothing items that have like a cool story, or like that you've come across that were like super rare that you could tell me about?
Yeah, I think I've always preferred like stories to rareness. Like, I think there's some shirts that just are like rare and it's like, it's cool because it's rare, but I think I love when they have like a more special story to them, or like a lot more like character to them.
Okay. Can you give me an example? Yeah.
Dude, I got a good example back here.
Yeah, you can swing the mic out of the way if it's.
I'll reach this guy. Okay, so this one's kind of crazy. This one's got like a little story with it. I guess I can show it to the camera too if you're watching.
Yeah, I'll show it this way. Let's flip it around the other way.
So you can see we got the back there.
This is the front. Oh, this is the back?
That's the back.
Man,
and then this
awesome.
guy's the front. So the crazy thing with this is it's you can see how faded out it is. Like, it's almost white at the top here, right? This would have been a black shirt.
Seriously?
To begin with. This was a black t-shirt.
Oh my goodness. How do you know?
So you can kind of tell from the stitching underneath, because the stitching's less like faded. You can tell it's like a lot more black.
It's like grayish blue.
So this started as a black shirt, and this one's so cool because, I mean, first of all, to me, like this, you can't recreate that. You know what I mean? Like that fading like that.
You can
can't
try, but it won't
So
work.
to me, like this, Harley Davidson's not crazy rare or anything. These were pretty mass-produced shirts back in the day, but you can't find another. You're not going to find this one like this. This is technically one of one, right? You've got little
eagle. What does it say down here?
Milwaukee iron.
Milwaukee iron. Oh my god.
And you got little like holes in it, little pit holes. There's some little. I think down here there's like some little like oil spray or something. So stuff like this it's not necessarily rare, but it's always cooler to me because this has such a story to it. So this one, sometimes you don't know those stories, but this one particularly, I do have the story with this because this came from the original owner. So this was one of those buyout deals. We basically had someone hit us up and he just said he had he didn't really specify anything. He just said he had a bunch of Harley Davidson shirts that he used to collect and was just looking to like clear them out, and asked if we were like interested and come by to look at them.
Okay.
So we're like, of course. He was like outskirts of Ottawa, so we had no idea what to expect. We're like, these could be new Harley Davidsons. They could be old. There could be 10. There could be 100. Like we had going into it, like we had no idea what to expect. So we just go out, pull up, and then he had like a decent pile of maybe like 30 or so like Harley Davidson shirts. So we're chatting about them, like where he got them all and stuff. So basically this dude in like the mid 80s, he had this bad I feel bad telling this guy's story, but he had this bad breakup with his girlfriend and like lost his like house and like everything.
Okay. All
All he had left was his Harley Davidson and like his backpack.
No, like the actual bike?
That's it. His bike and his backpack. Wow. So he just he basically just hopped on it and just said like, you know what, I'm just gonna take a couple years and just like road trip around Canada, just like on my bike.
Jeez.
So this was the one that he started with. He started in Peterborough, because that's where he was like at the time. Yeah. So he started in Peterborough, and he said this was like the first shirt that he bought. Because what he said he did is when he started doing that trip, every city that he would stop in that had a Harley Davidson dealership, he would go in and buy a T-shirt. Okay. So I think he said he was on this trip from around like, he said he was on the road for quite a while. Like I think it was like around like 83 to like 86, 87, something like that. Just kind of like just travel around. Yeah. Just, some cities he'd stay for like a couple months or whatever, and then some would be quick stops. But he'd buy a T-shirt every city he went to. This one was the first city. So he said that every single day riding on his Harley, this is the T-shirt that he would wear.
This one?
Yeah.
So this T-shirt has been across the country.
Across the country.
On a motorbike.
And this is why it's like looks like this, because even look at
because like riding in the sun, right?
You can see the shoulders are more faded than the bottom because of how he was, when you sit hunched over on a bike, the top is more exposed to the sun than like your butt, where it's like more tucked in. So it's literally darker down here than up here. Like this that's what we're talking about, where old stuff has stories, because this literally has thousands of kilometers of
across
stories.
The country. Yeah. Did he dip into the States too? Do you know?
I think he said he did like a couple states, but I think it was mostly Canada. But it was crazy because when he first brought all the Harleys out, we were like, oh, these are really cool. And then we were just kind of talking about like, there was one of them that had like a little hole, and he's like, oh, sorry about that. And we're like, oh no, we don't mind. Like we love like the old like worn stuff. And he's like
something like this.
Yeah. He's like, oh, you guys like the old worn stuff? He's like, one sec. He's like, I thought you guys wouldn't even want that stuff. So he comes down with even more of them.
Yeah, he was like holding it back because he thought you wouldn't buy it.
This was upstairs because he thought this was just garbage because it was so faded. Like,
and then
this doesn't even fit me, but I can't sell it. Like, this is not my size, but I can't sell it just because I want this up on a framed in a wall. You know, like this is cool. Beautiful, man.
I think it's a story too.
It's a story. Like it's
the story of the dude who rode his motorbike across the country, the heartbroken man. Who rode across the country.
It's one way to deal with it, to each their own, right?
I mean, that's so I imagine, like, obviously there's an infinite amount of pieces with an infinite amount of stories.
And a lot of them you don't get to know. This was one that we were just lucky enough to be buying this whole collection from the original owner. It was about, I think, like 50 Harley Davidson shirts, give or take. And then he also ended up pulling out some band shirts. So we got like a few, like I think like 10 or so like music tees as well. It was just fun, man, because like, I love doing stuff like that. Yeah. You just have you go in there, like you literally have no idea what to expect. And it's like so fun to just like dig through and see what you're going to end up with.
I love that. And it's, even if you don't know the story, like I feel like you still can feel.
You could probably tell from like looking at this.
If you were to put this shirt on, I feel like you would feel something. If you want to, I feel like you have to be open to the idea that this story is capable of inspiring.
You gotta be open-minded.
Yeah, absolutely.
You gotta be open-minded.
You're gonna be able to reach back there.
I'm trying.
Oh, that's okay. Hold the edge of the hanger, maybe. Harley Davidson shirt. Whoa. So,
oh my god.
Yeah, you can just leave it on the couch.
Just keeps turning.
Oh, Mike's falling. You could just leave it on the couch.
All right.
That's
all
okay.
Right. My bad.
No worries, dude. Good. No worries. So, I mean, this to me seems like fragile. Honestly. Yeah. So like, say I were to purchase a shirt like this in this condition, how would you care for it and make it last another 30 years, 50 years?
I mean, the thing that I always tell people is like old quality just lasted so much better. Like, a lot of people do worry about like wearing the shirts and stuff, but like man, this shirt's already been worn for 30 years. Like if it hasn't deteriorated,
it probably,
like I think this one's from around 85,
yeah,
like 1985. Like that's coming up to being, is that 40, coming up to 40 years now, this shirt? Like that's
40. Yeah.
And look at it, it's still holding together,
It's still
like
here.
if it lasted that long, you'll be fine to wear it,
Yeah. And he would never know. Like he was just throwing on his shirt and riding on his bike, not knowing that his shirt would be on a podcast one day.
This is like an art piece to me, man.
I love
it's
it.
Like
would
it's
you
literally
usually
like,
want to frame it in like a...
I've like kind of joked about doing that, but like it actually like almost would be kind of sick.
It'd be cool because then obviously people are gonna ask you, why is that shirt in a frame? What is it about that shirt? And like, it seems like the story's cool. It's because it inspires imagination. Because like as you're telling me that story, I'm imagining like this like old like freaking like Thunderstruck is playing. And this guy's like just down the highway, mountains in the
smoke in his mouth.
Yeah, like he's probably wearing like not even a helmet.
No, yeah, no, of course not.
And like without even explicitly saying this, you're just telling me the story about the 80s, and I'm imagining.
You just picture it.
It's like I imagine like that's part of the appeal of the vintage kind of culture and vintage items, because they do inspire a different type of thought, a different type of imagination.
And I think there's definitely a big element of like individuality to it, because like to me, I love stuff like this where it's got like a unique fade, like has the stories, but there's also just there's some that I have, it's just like because I love this band, or because I love this like brand, like there's different stuff where it's like, that's what's so cool about it. Like there's literally something for everyone. It's so individual, like whether you're into TV, music, like sports, like literally whatever. If you're into cars, like there's there's cool vintage car stuff. Like there's literally everything that you're into. There's like something for everyone.
I want one of those like old retro like ski jackets.
Oh yeah, like the crazy colors.
The crazy colors, like puffers, and I just thought those are so cool.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
And like
we get them often.
Old race jackets, and
I love the
and
old
stuff like that.
One.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to get some vintage items, because like I'm a firm kind of believer, and I practice this, like you and your thoughts are a product of your environment. Your physical environment plays a huge role in how you think and how you create and how you operate. And given that, I like to take care of the things around me and like kind of curate it, but also personalize it. And I've never been one to like do it with clothing per se. Like I'm starting to understand as I get older and I start to like appreciate clothing more. I like old stuff. It's cool. And it's cool because you can say you're going on a video shoot, or you're going to do something and you want to let a little extra boost. Like you kind of curate your outfit for that, eh? Like, do you do that?
Oh man, like every day for me, like it's so funny. Like I feel like what I wear can literally like dictate my day. It's so funny, but for me, like putting on a good outfit, like if I don't just start my day by feeling good with what I'm wearing, like I don't know. I'm gonna have like a clouded mind. Like that's just a thing for me. Like I've always been so aware of like what I'm wearing that like if I don't like feel comfortable in what I'm wearing, like I'm just not gonna be comfortable mentally, Yeah,
no, I totally understand.
So I think like definitely like
the environment is important.
Yeah, and I think like I don't know, depending on what I'm doing, there's different kind of things I'll wear or whatever, like if you're like I have a lot like outerwear is like something I'm big into. Like I love like thick, like good quality outerwear if I'm going on like a hike or whatever,
Okay, like jackets.
Yeah.
That's cool. So what is then the most challenging part of this process? Because I do view this is certainly like this is a creative process.
Yeah, I guess we haven't even really we've kind of been talking, but I feel like we haven't touched necessarily like on the creativity.
I think we have in many ways. But that's the
whole thing really is.
So early on, we had a podcast with Francois Mittens, who's an exceptional photographer, and he's a very creative individual. And he said everyone is a creative, or everyone has the potential to be a creative, because we're blessed with minds that are able to come up with a unique solution for any problem. Like a creative thought is not necessarily an artistic thought.
I think a lot of people blend that, where they think of creativity and their mind automatically goes to like artists, photographers, but there's so much
absolutely, and
there's so much more to creativity than just that.
That excites me, because that opens up the possibilities of the types of guests that can. I'm not saying no one is ineligible for this podcast, but that opens up the possibility for more people if they want to come on the show and express themselves and talk about how they've found creative solutions for a regular problem. And in your case, I see like you found a creative solution for like just you're repurposing old clothing, you're giving it new life, and you're giving it a second chance. And first of all, the environment says thank you for doing that.
Just doing my part.
And second of all, it's reigniting an entire culture of fashion, because this is fashion that was trending 30 years ago, and it's going to have its second chance. This is renaissance of this old shirt. And then who knows what that's gonna do.
It's ever changing. It's ever changing, but it's also always individual. Like you know, a lot of the stuff that I like to wear isn't necessarily in style, but that's like, you know, that's okay. It's like style is very individual. You know,
exactly. It's
and I think it's interesting what you're saying, like with creativity, because I think like business in a sense almost is creativity. Like you do have to be a creative minded person to even like run a business, I feel like, because like you said, like finding solutions, creative solutions, like that's what business is. You always have to find solutions, find ways to do things. That's you know, it comes down to creativity.
It does. But before, like, it took me a bit of time, and it's still a work in progress, to like build the confidence to do things that I had never seen anybody else do, because I'm like, can I do this? Is this allowed?
Ottawa's always been a tough city for that, because I always felt like we've had such a mold in this city, like a one size fits all kind of thing. And I think it's only until recently that, you know, people like yourself or myself have started stepping out of line a little bit and kind of find these new things in a way, you know? Not acting like we like reinvented the wheel or something, you know, but it's like, I feel like Ottawa was always a bit of a, you know, sleeper kind of city before, you know, like we didn't really have that culture, right? Like
I think we did have the culture, it wasn't accessible.
It was underground.
It was underground. It was pockets of communities, of groups, and it wasn't necessarily,
you couldn't just go out and like find these people.
It would take years of meeting people and talking,
going to the right places,
stumbling
right
along.
Times,
you know this, come check out this thing. And then that's literally like this whole platform of the creatives it is a podcast on the forefront, but it's also a community where there is a Discord channel, and there is like
that's cool,
an Instagram, and the Discord will be linked in the description. But it's just basically, I hope to grow a community where people can find like-minded individuals, and then we can all kind of, you know, connect and grow in that sense.
Inspire each other. I think that's the big thing.
Exactly.
It's so funny. Every creative like minded person, you're always most influenced by like another creative. It's so funny. Like you get the most hyped up. Like you get the most energy just seeing like, you just feel so inspired by seeing someone else. You know?
Dude. And I hope that someone who's pumped about old clothes or vintage stuff is seeing this and being like, yo, this dude, like you made a business, you and Sian, you made a business. Does she share the same like level of passion?
100%.
That's awesome.
I'd honestly, I couldn't have I never could have done this if it wasn't like with her, you know.
That's cool, man.
I've never been someone that's been good at like taking risks. That's been my thing. Like I've always been I get too comfortable. I get way too comfortable, and we're all guilty of that. Like you get a little bit too comfortable with the routine.
Absolutely.
I'm really bad for that, and she definitely like really helps like push me, and like she's a very
she's adventurous.
I mean, I don't want to say impulsive, because that comes off like worse, because she's still like, she thinks stuff through, you know. It's not like it's like she just takes a blind leap, but it's like she's a lot more willing to take risks. And I think like we honestly never even would have been like looking for a place to find a lease, like if it wasn't like her. Like she'll really, like if she gets her mind on something, like she'll do it, you know.
I love that, because it just goes to show like nothing's out of reach if you want to make it happen.
Oh, exactly. And that's why we did this together, is because it all came together like when we were together. Like we were literally getting into the thrifting and the selling of this stuff like together.
Yeah. That's cool. This is like the store is like your child.
Yeah.
You've birthed this really awesome shop. Why Bad Dog? What does that name even mean? I wanted to circle back there.
Okay, so it's kind of funny. There's like kind of like there's sort of like a hidden meaning to it, but I mean,
is it a secret?
No. I'll talk about it, because basically like the first thing is like we always wanted a name that didn't necessarily tie us to like what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, there's so many like all these different businesses, like you'll find people try to stick to these names that are so like to the business.
Yeah.
We wanted
like
to do
Luke
one.
and Cheyenne's vintage clothing store. Very
yeah,
specific.
like literally putting vintage or clothing like in the name. We wanted to do something where it's like, it's just this cool name. Like if we wanted to do any other project or any other business that's connected to ours, like we could under this name. We wanted a name that was like a one size fits all.
Because then it becomes a brand rather than
exactly.
It's not like. Yeah, it's not like clothing store. It's just it's a brand.
It's like and it's recognizable on its own, you know. Mm-hmm. So even if we wanted to do something that was completely unrelated to the clothing, people would still recognize the Bad Dog and still know that's us. That was like cool. That was the first thing. Like we're just like, man, this name just sounds cool.
Bad
you know,
Dog.
like that was it was like funny because that's kind of, we were just thinking like we wanted something that was just catchy, cool, like short and quick. So like that just kind of came because like I had my I just gotten my like puppy Luna at the time. And she was
Luna's her name?
Yeah, her name's Luna.
Name is Luna.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
It's a cute
crazy.
name.
Yeah.
Because she was just my little puppy at the time. And she was like a little mischievous as a puppy. So
yeah.
The name kind of was a little inspired by her in a way. And that's kind of why she's like on our logo. Like it's actually her.
Oh, that's actually your dog.
That's actually
Oh,
my
I thought
dog.
that was just like a generic
no, it's actually
PNG of a dog.
It's actually like my dog as a puppy. We had her face like cartoonized and yeah. So she became like the logo. So that was kind of where the name first came from. And then there is like a little bit of like the hidden meaning with it, which is we kind of always say like bad dog, right? Like if you're a dog person, there's no such thing as a bad dog. Because if you're a dog person, like a dog's a dog. Like a dog is a good dog. They might just have some behavioral issues, and then but like it's a good dog.
It's a bad owner, not a bad dog.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're like, yo, that's like old clothing. Old clothing is like the bad dog. Because like if you're not like to most people on the street, I walk by wearing this like faded shirt, and they're like, this kid just looks like, what the hell are you wearing, dude? You know, like you look ridiculous. You know, so it's like there's like. You kind of have people that look at it like that. But if you're into this stuff, then you're like, you know, someone could walk past you and be like, dude, that is the sickest shirt I've ever seen. And it's so funny because it's like that's the bad dog. That's the of like the, you know, the clothing world.
I love it. Because, no item is a bad item technically.
No, exactly. It's there's, you know, there's a place, place for it in someone's life. You know, there's someone that could be into this, you know. I like wear to my shirts. I don't, you know, like a lot of people don't like the wear, but you know, to each their own. And that's the cool thing with it. Like it's literally, some people look at that like the shitty old torn up shirt, but like to me, I'm like, that's art. This is one of one, you know, like. I
guess it depends where it's engaged with people. And like, are you in a suit and tie corporate world where everyone around you is wearing kind of, you know,
you might get some looks. Yeah, like you walk into a government building.
But I would argue, like, what if you were to get an old suit? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Because I feel how many suits get purchased and worn once and sit in a closet for
a ridiculous amount.
I feel like that's like one of like dress clothes might be the most popular thing.
Suits are something that I feel like you should never buy new. Like you can go to a thrift store and there's a whole aisle of like beautiful suits, like quality brands, you know, like you'll find like Holt Renfrew and like nice stuff, you know. That's if you just look,
that's really cool.
So that's kind of where it's like a funny little like hidden thing
cool
with the
story.
name, but we just wanted something that could like fit anything. We didn't want to get ourselves too stuck. This was also like we were going into the business a bit more blindly then. Like we really didn't know if it was going to be something that would last at the time. So
and you didn't think you'd be where you are now, right?
No, when we started, I didn't even think we would have been able to move like this soon. Like as soon as we did, like when we first got our lease, we had done a 3-year lease, and I thought that was even like, I was like, oh, we're definitely going to be like re-signing, but like we ended up ending the lease like early, which is crazy.
So how many years into Bad Dog are you?
So September 2019, we technically opened.
Okay.
So by this September, we'd be hitting our like, what would that be like? Yeah, the fourth anniversary.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then we just got moved into the beautiful new location.
What's the address of that one?
In January, 617 Bank Street. 617. Yeah. Just a block from Top of the World. A lot of people know Top of the World, so I always drop that as like a.
It's like right by the highway too. It's like not right by the highway, but it's kind of down Bank Street.
It's like like a block or two from the highway. Yeah,
that's awesome. Nice. It's Bank, and what's the street that corners it?
Strathcona,
I think. Anyway, just search Bad Dog. You'll find it. It's hard to miss. Our
old location wasn't. Our old location was easy to miss.
Easy to miss?
Easy to miss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we moved. It was like a little like it was I'll always say it was something to start. Like I never beat myself. Like we'll never beat ourselves up over that location because it's like we took what we could get at the time, and at the end of the day, like we had a Bank Street address, which was sick. Like
and it worked.
We were like a block from Lansdowne, which was cool, but like you just could not find us. Like we were such a like, you know, such a little needle in the haystack there.
Because it was like a building with like a couple businesses, and you were down a hallway.
You went up like 2 steps in this little doorway. You went in like that door, then you went down the hall kind of to the left and then straight, and then we were in a door to the right. Like it was not convenient.
But it worked. Clearly.
It worked. It was something. Yeah.
It clearly worked, you know, and it got you to. It was like that stepping stone that got you down to 617 Bank Street.
Yeah.
Which is
nice, actual street front. We got our own doorway now. We don't share it. We have our own. You know, our whole back area is like our own now. That was another big part of like the move at our old place. Like we the building that we were in, we were renting from like the bar.
Yeah.
So we didn't have our own bathrooms. Our own bathrooms were shared with the bar. So like even stuff like that was such a big part of the move, because it's like, yeah, you can imagine what's like sharing a bathroom with bar customers. Like
especially when you're trying to be like
trying to work
nice, pleasant shopping experience, and
you're trying to just work on a Friday night, and you go into the bathroom and you're like just stepping on it, like there's just drunks in there, and you're like stepping in God knows what, like
questionable fluids. Yeah. Someone's wearing a shirt in that bar that's gonna end up in a vintage clothing store. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm trying to buy it off them. Like,
dude, give me a shirt right now. I'll buy you a beer. That's so funny.
So there's a lot that like pushed the move, but we growth was the big one.
Absolutely, progress over perfection is. I like to kind of live by that. Like I try not to put so much emphasis on like, am I doing this perfect? It's like just do it, learn from it, grow from it.
At the end of the day, you're never going to do anything perfect. That's the point, right? You keep doing stuff. Mm-hmm. You only get better every time. Like there's so many people that won't, within creativity, there's so many people that give up so early. Like they're like, oh, I'm not as good at like taking pictures as I want to be. Like I'm not as good at drawing as I want to be. It's like, just keep doing it. You'll get there. You just got to keep doing it.
Absolutely. I think the issue with that, and it's something that I'm working on, is perception of time is very skewed. And I think I speak for myself here, but I feel like other people could relate to this, is our perception of time and how fast things actually materialize and how things actually happen is skewed, because we think everything just happens like right away, but sometimes things take years.
Because we see it on the internet, so we think like, oh, they posted this today, so this must have all just happened today. But like you gotta look at the behind the scenes, like you said. This probably was like a year or whatever went into this.
And I'm learning that firsthand, like with my video production business that I have. I'm now going into year 3 of operating like officially, and I'm like, things just start clicking and making sense, and I'm like, like that makes sense, or I'm finally getting a result that, like, you know, I was like, how the heck can I do this? But it just takes time. It just takes like laying a foundation, and like every single thing that you do has an impact that you may not realize for years.
It's sometimes not even until you look back. Mm-hmm. Like I'm sure you know, as a creative in that sense, like I'm sure sometimes like you think like, oh, but you know, maybe I haven't progressed as much as I thought. But it's when you do that, like scroll back, like you look back at some of your old stuff, you're like, man, you know, like that's like, you know, like I feel like a lot of creatives are like that. Like you really have to look back to actually see the progress that you've made.
Like comparing to where you started rather than comparing to. The comparison is the killer of everything. It is the killer of motivation. It is the killer of inspiration. And because like it's just, you don't see what other people put in to get a result. You just see the result.
Yeah. And we're seeing too much of it now. Like I feel like it's so instant to see anything now. Mm-hmm. So it's like you're I don't know. I feel like a lot of people expect too much from themselves. Yeah. And then do less because I don't know. You're pushing yourself too much. You just got to be easy on yourself. You know? You got to like you expect
be
so
too
hard
much
on yourself. Yeah.
You expect too much, then you don't meet those expectations, and then that leads to you being disappointed, which then leads to lack of motivation.
You beat yourself up over a mistake, and then you end up like doing shitty work for the next month because you've been beating yourself up so much. Had you just gotten past that mistake, look, I made a mistake, it's okay, move on the next day, you would have been right back in your groove by the next day. I think people are too hard on themselves. People like you said, compare way too much.
It's hard not to compare when the digital space is so like
it's
prominent.
It's infinite.
And
too.
it's prominent, and it's the forefront of communication. It is the forefront of expression.
Yep.
And as the forefront of business in a lot
of
ways.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, dude. I don't think our shop would be where it's at now if it wasn't for having the Instagram. Like, literally.
Which is amazing in itself. And
it's a free tool. It's sick. Yeah.
I love the digital space, and I've always explored it and tried to find new ways to reach people and benefit from it. But you got to be a bit careful and balance, like, consuming with creating.
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna consume on a platform and you're gonna consume content, you should balance it with a little bit of creating, a little bit, just so that you can better understand your consumption. Because I feel like if you're out here and you're always looking at what other people have made, and it's hours a day, every day, then it's like, but then you go on and you make a video, then you realize, like, this is all kind of a facade. It's just an act. Everything, people are just acting in a certain way to create a piece of content, not necessarily a bad way, but they are putting on a bit of a show because it has to be.
So. There's also a huge difference between, like, mindless consuming versus mindful consuming, because I think like the social media now is very much like mindless consuming. Like, we're watching a lot of shit that has no benefit to us. Absolutely. Like, you're just endless scrolling, you realize, like, holy shit, I just, like, wasted an hour of, like, what the hell did I didn't even gain anything from that, you know? It's like, I've been trying to get in that mindset because I think we all hit that a little bit with, like, the lockdowns and stuff. Man. Like, we were all just kind of, like, stuck at home. Like, you just all got stuck in that, like, you know, endless scrolling or just, like, watching whatever. And I've been trying to, like, really flip my mind recently of, like, if I'm watching something, is this beneficial to me or not? Because I think that's the big thing. Like, consuming stuff is great if it's going to have a benefit to you.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's good. Have a little break, watch some, like, watch whatever junky content you want. But I think, like, the endless scrolling, like, of just mindless content, like, it's pointless, you know?
Put a stop to it.
Because that's the great thing with social media. There's so many other creatives on there, so much stuff that you can get inspiration from, but you have to consume that.
Yeah, but even that in itself is a slippery slope, because as a creative in any form, whatever sort of creativity you're passionate about, like, I feel like if you just look, then it's hard to bring yourself to do it, because you're like, I'm never gonna do it like this. My videos aren't gonna look like this. This guy just did some crazy stuff, or this girl just made this crazy whatever, like, and then you get discouraged. So it's
but maybe that even comes down to mindless versus mindful, because maybe you're being too, like, you're taking that too much. Like, I don't know. It's
a conversation that needs to be had, because it's not a joke. Like, it's a serious thing that I think is killing like the fire inside of people.
Oh yeah.
Because, like,
this could get into, like, a whole crazy convo. Like,
absolutely.
This is the next, like, this is mental health, like, problem, you know? Like, it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary.
And I hope that, you know, as a collective of humankind, we can understand it, but I don't even want to get too deep into it.
No, this is what we're here for, right?
We're here.
We're positive.
and if you're listening to this, you're using one of these platforms. So thank you. Honestly, if you're listening to this, thank you. I really appreciate you. And I hope this content brings you value. And if you have any suggestions or questions you'd like us to ask future guests, just let us know in the comments. Let us know. On Spotify, there's, like, a Q&A section or a poll section. So just in the Spotify episode, you can kind of go in and, like, actually write stuff. If you're listening on Apple, you can't, but you can just always email us at TheCreatives. If you just have some input for the show, we'd love to hear it. So without going too deep into social media, like you said, mindful consumption is the goal here. And I think that's very important, just to be mindful and just be aware of, you know, you're doing it, and look at your screen time stats. And if you're scared to look at your screen time stats,
that's the problem. That's the problem.
8 hours a day on TikTok. No, not good.
But then that's the thing. Like, social media it can be such a powerful tool. Like I was saying with our business, like, I don't even think it would be at where it's at if it wasn't for, like, the free advertising of Instagram. We've never we paid for some ads on Instagram, but, like, realistically, like, we barely spent anything just to, like, run our Instagram. And it's like, awesome. It's sick. It's such a, like, powerful, like, tool. And I think if you use it right, there's a lot that you can gain from it. And I think, like, that's all our thing with, like, our feed. It's always just been, like, I don't know, we just enjoy presenting the stuff. I'm just trying to take like some cool photos and just show like our stuff, like bring attention to items that like I think are cool. Like we don't post everything that goes in store, obviously, like it'd be way too many items, but we just like to highlight just some stuff that like we put
really, collections together, really which I like.
I like doing
fall
that.
collection or like a
we like doing that stuff. I like putting together little collections of stuff. It's fun.
I love that. Based on like the season and stuff.
So. Yeah, based on the season or like based on a certain style or just try to put together little things like that.
That's awesome, man. So Luke, what do you how do you see this whole vintage industry evolving then? Like as we, time goes on and our city of Ottawa is growing like at an insane rate. There's like so much development, both like, physically with buildings and, business is growing. So
we got over 1 million people in Ottawa now, which is kind of crazy.
And if you look at Ottawa and you look at the city skyline, the amount of cranes that are visible, every crane is a new building, and
every new building is taller than the last.
And every new building is going to house maybe 1,000 people. And I think they have to make buildings. Every apartment building has to have stores at the bottom of it now.
Oh yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
So the city's growing. So not necessarily just in Ottawa, but how do you see the industry of vintage evolving, and how do you want to grow with it?
Man, I think it's already changing so much. Like even in the past couple of years, we've watched like quite a lot change with it. I mean, one of the big things that happened is during like COVID, there was a lot of online auctions started going on because obviously no one could sell physically.
Yeah.
And like with people getting like the, in the States, everyone was getting their like the little the checks or whatever. I forgot what the stimmy or whatever in the States, like we got our CERB. Yeah, we got the CERB. A lot of people it was like money that it wasn't even theirs. So a lot of people were just like buying stuff for like way more than they needed to. So like in the vintage world, we were seeing like a lot of live auctions going on where like shirts started, like a shirt that used to be worth like $50 like would be going for like, some of these you're seeing going for like $3,000 on auctions and
it's
stuff.
like similar how like cars and houses went up crazy in value. People just had money to.
So I think that's like the weird thing that's going on with the vintage community right now is like it's gotten a lot bigger than like when we first opened the store. Like it's a lot bigger like everywhere, and like especially in Ottawa, because I think like we there was barely a scene for it then. I think now it's pretty big in Ottawa.
Yeah.
But we're seeing it change in a way, like the prices are definitely changing, like they're going up. We're really trying as a store to like still keep our prices. Like we like to have everything fair. Like we still try to do everything like not as crazy as the online market. But I think that's the thing that's going to get tough with the store. Like finding this stuff is going to get harder.
Because now more people are
looking for it. And there's just, every year that goes on, there's less and less of it,
Interesting.
So I think, there's going to be challenges for sure, but then the cool thing is that every year a new item also becomes vintage. So I think one of the big things that we'll see is we'll probably see a lot more, I mean, we already are seeing like a lot more like Y2K fashion become popular again. Like, with like men's stuff and women's stuff, like with guys stuff, we're seeing a lot of like the Ed Hardy kind of style come back. Like I was saying before, like the Roca wear, like the big jeans, like Echo stuff. And then for girls, like you're seeing things like Uggs are coming back, and really? Like the old like the yoga pants, like there's it's
like early, because yoga pants are like fairly new.
Yeah, that was like the like late like almost 2010 kind of era, I feel like. And it's like it's funny because you're seeing like a lot of Y2K is almost coming back around. And then I think that's the cool thing with like this world is every year something new does become vintage. So style's always changing and what people are into will always change. But
that's awesome, dude.
I think there's always going to be clothes out there that people will want.
I love it. I love that optimism. Like every year, something. A whole year's worth of clothing, which is a lot of clothing. Like how much clothes are manufactured in a year? Probably like more than we're comfortable with admitting. Like, and if you were to like put them all in one place,
it's pretty crazy. It's almost funny. Like, well, it's not funny, but like a lot of people point fingers at like cars, like they're the big problem. But I'm an environmentalist, but like I'm a realistic environmentalist, and that's why clothing is such a big focus for me, because I'm like buying new clothing is like being way worse for the environment than like driving your car to work. You know what I mean? I don't know. People could come at me, whatever, but it's like, the amount of water and like CO2 that's created just to produce a pair of jeans when you could just buy a pair of jeans that like already exists.
Interesting. I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
I don't really associate. Like when you buy a piece of clothing and you're getting it in its final form on the shelf, folded nicely, whatever, you're not associating that whole production process.
Like making a pair of jeans takes like thousands of gallons of water to make one pair of jeans.
How does it? What? I don't even know the.
It's something with like the spinning of like the cotton and stuff. You know how they have to make it all and everything, and then. Jeez. I mean, yeah, and then manufacturers, obviously, you know, if they're making them overseas, then they have to ship this overseas, and then it has to get to the store that you're buying it from. Like, if you're buying a new item, there's a lot more, like new clothing. I think statistic-wise, new clothing production is about like 20% of like the world's CO2 emissions.
That's insane.
Like just clothing.
That's like almost a quarter of the world. That's wow. Yeah.
So these are statistics that I feel like a lot of people don't even realize, you know, like
they don't really, because
fast fashion is literally what's killing the earth. You know, I feel like a lot of people point fingers at the wrong problems. There's tons of problems. There's tons of environmental problems. I think it's just like we kind of need to look at like what we should actually be doing first.
Because it starts with what you can do personally.
Yeah. And it's like, I think it's kind of unrealistic to expect to have all of us not driving cars in like, what is like 7 years time? It's supposed to be like 2030 or whatever, right?
The non-electric cars?
Yeah.
Oh, like everyone, they're only gonna be selling electric cars.
Yeah. But it's like, you know, we can't even rely on them right now. But it's like, I'm like, there's like realistically, like you can't just sell your car today and make that change in your life, but you can stop buying new clothes today. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I try to be realistic with like what you can actually do as a person.
I like that.
I think environmentally, it's like I think that's like a big stress with people. Like they worry so much like what they're doing environmentally. And I think they're almost like missing the simple things that you actually could be doing.
And it's like every single person wears clothes every single day. And it's so, I guess I never even, you just allowed me to understand it from that perspective, from that like, kind of sustainability viewpoint where like I'm out here when I need a piece of clothing, I'm going to the store, I'm going to buy it. I need a t-shirt. Oh, I'm going to go to the store, buy it. But like, I mean, I'm going to think twice now. Like I'm going to hit you up. I'm going to see what you have in your shop.
You save money with it too. That's the other thing. Like not are you only helping? Yeah, exactly. You're literally saving money. I mean, obviously there's going to be items like, you know, it's not like, there's certain t-shirts, if they're rare, they're going to be worth more. But if you're just looking for like, you know, like going in, like, let's say a new Carhartt jacket, like we sell Carhartt jackets for around like, you know, $60, $80 sort of range, depending on like what they are. Sometimes like up to 100 if it's like a really nice one. But like you go into a store, those are what, like 200 something.
I mean, that's on par with what a jacket
yeah.
costs. Yeah.
So it's like you know you're saving money and you're not having to have this new item produced.
I love it.
And I you know, another statistic I heard around Christmas time, someone brought up that was just saying if everyone wore like a secondhand outfit on Christmas Day, it would have been like if every person on earth wore a secondhand outfit Christmas Day, it would have been the equivalent to taking a like a whole year of cars off the road. Jesus. Worldwide.
That's one day.
One day.
Just 365 days.
Just wearing old clothes.
Oh my God. So that being said, what advice do you have for people to, you know, start making this effort and this
like
change?
Environmentally or like clothing wise?
Just in general? In general, like what advice can you maybe give to people who are, you know, don't even know about this, or you want to start wearing vintage clothing, but they're like, mate, I don't want to look like a bum or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in general, the first thing, because I guess if we're wanting to talk about like environmentally in general, I would say one of the first things is just make yourself aware. Like whatever you're doing, make yourself aware of the impact that you're having from that. You know, I think that's like a big thing. You know, like do you need to get that bottle of water at the gas station? You know, it's like just think about like those little things that you do.
I hate bottled water, like plastic bottles.
That's gonna be like one of the first big things you can do is just get a reusable bottle. If you don't have that, that's like one of the biggest changes you can do. And then to get any used clothing, I mean, I think you know, style I feel like is already there for a lot of people. Like a lot of people already know the kind of things that they're into. Yeah. You know, obviously like thrifting's a great start. Like you can go and you could, you know, there's good stuff in the thrifts. You know, it's not necessarily everyone's thing to go and dig through like a bunch of old dirty clothes. Like that's why, you know, we try to bring a different experience.
That's why your store exists.
Exactly.
But people don't have to dig.
Yeah. But you can still find good stuff in the thrifts, you know, and, I think that'd be like if people want to get into it, that's the best way is just like literally start going to places that have this used stuff. Like if anyone watching this wants to come in and just like chat and just like, I don't know, help you find your style or whatever. Like I'm happy to like chat to people. Like I love I love giving advice to people in store. Like if someone, you know, some people are trying stuff on, I love giving feedback on like how it looks and stuff like that. Like
I love that, man.
I think everyone already has their individual style, but I think we all have like new styles out there that we can discover. And it's like, we're not in high school anymore. No one's going to judge you for what you're wearing. Don't be scared to wear stuff, you know, like just wear whatever the hell you like, man.
Yeah. If it speaks to you and you're drawn to that item, just wear it.
Just wear whatever makes you happy, man.
I love that, dude. Yeah. That's an excellent way to kind of close this podcast off, this episode. It's been really awesome to speak to you, Luke.
It's been a pleasure to be on here, man.
Before we like close it off, can you just quickly, you know, go through some of the stuff behind us here?
Yeah, like a little mix that we got. I guess we kind of got the one that we did.
Yeah, so we got the Harley Davidson tee. If you can swing the mic around the other way if it's in the way.
Well, the first one we got here is actually a Bad Dog sweater. So this one, funny enough, is secondhand. So
I love that.
Yeah, we you know, we wanted to make some merch, but we couldn't bring ourselves, you know, knowing us, we can't bring ourselves to just manufacture some new clothes. So we got some old like 90s blanks and then just printed our own logo on them.
So it's like new old. You've modified an old,
exactly.
Old shirt. That's amazing.
And then like the next couple that we got are like a couple auto items. So these are interesting because this is actually this is like pre-Sens existing.
Seriously.
So at the start of the 90s, when they were talking about bringing the Sens back to Ottawa, this is the logo that they pitched.
With the Parliament on it.
With the Parliament logo. It's it's cooler. Like I wish they went for that one.
Yeah.
So they made some merch to like promote it before, like, because you know they needed the public support to actually bring back the Senators.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
cool.
They had to know people were going to come to these games.
Yeah.
So I got a couple. You know, I got a jersey and a T-shirt.
That's an Ottawa Sens shirt.
Sens logo. Yeah.
That's so freaking. If you're listening, by the way, the Ottawa Senators is our like hockey
That's our
team.
City. I thought it was relevant to us.
Absolutely, that's
no one else cares. No one else cares.
The Senators are back. I mean, I'm personally not a big hockey fan, but I still find that really freaking cool. That is an awesome shirt.
Another Ottawa relevant.
Is that Ottawa Lynx, like the baseball team?
Yeah. So this is from the inaugural game.
Dope shirt.
That's one of my
Whoever
favorites.
designed that, someone took a lot of time to design that.
That's a beautiful graphic. Yes.
It looks like a good quality T-shirt.
Yeah.
It's from 1993. That's older than me.
Great quality, man. They don't make them like they used to. Made in Canada. What clothing do you see made in Canada anymore?
None. I mean, really, I don't know.
Yeah, literally none.
So yeah.
So this is from their first game, their inaugural game. So this only would have been sold or probably given away at the very first.
So you would have had to be at the stadium.
You would have had to be there to get it.
You would have had to purchase a ticket to the first baseball game.
I'm assuming they probably just gave them out to people.
But still, you would have had to be at the game.
Yeah, you would have had to be there to get that. So that's pretty special because that team obviously hasn't
existed
for years.
That one's not for sale.
No, that one's from my personal collection.
Are all of these personal collection?
Some are personal. Some are kind of like they're not mine that I wear, but they kind of belong to the store, but aren't necessarily for sale right now.
But I mean, you probably have equal amount of other things that are equally as cool as these, right? That you don't keep in your personal
and like
collection.
You talked about, we like putting together certain collections. So sometimes stuff doesn't go out right away just because we're working on putting together a collection. Because I'd rather highlight items together rather than, just putting them out where they're just going to go in, just mixed in with the rest of the racks.
Love that, man.
So, we got some Ottawa kind of stuff on here. This one's kind of cool because it's like a 92 Lollapalooza.
Nice. That's like a music festival, right?
Yeah, it was almost like the Coachella of its days, kind of is how I think of it. Like this was like the second year of it. And
again, you would have had to be at the festival.
You would have had to be there. And dude, just look at this lineup.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, Ministry, Ice Cube, Soundgarden, The Jesus and Mary Chain, Pearl Jam, Lush. I mean, I know Ice Cube, I know Red Hot Chili Peppers, I know Pearl Jam. I don't know what the other ones are, but
that's like the main ones.
Still,
like that. What festival would you go to now that has a lineup like that?
Nothing. Ice Cube and Red
Hat. Like what?
They even got this actual like logo too of Ice Cube. Like,
no, it's so good. It's so good.
That's an excellent shirt. 1992.
Yeah, that's from my my personal collection. So that was the second year of Lollapalooza. The first year we did it was 91.
I can see that one's been a bit repaired. Does it have a big hole in it?
Yeah, not repaired by me. I actually got it like that, but I kind of like it. Definitely, some stories to tell with that. Exactly.
I can see there's holes in some of these.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. This one is my probably one of my favorites in my collection, just because
that just makes me feel some type of way when I see that. I don't even like the sun.
I know.
With the zodiac, are those? No, that's a clock.
It's like a sundial, kind of.
It's a sundial around in Roman numerals. There's a lot going on. I'm pretty sure those are zodiac signs all around in the inside of it. Maybe.
It's pretty. Either way, it's pretty crazy.
And there's like a Teletubbies looking sun in the middle.
So I love Pink Floyd. Like I grew up listening to a lot of Pink Floyd, like from my dad. So like this is also cool because it was one of, when we first opened the store, this was one of like the first shirts that we bought that like I kept.
Okay.
Like from people coming in to sell. Like this was one of the first ones. Like it was the first, I think it was 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
I like bought this one off of someone in store. So I just like kept it since then. Cause it's kind of special.
It's kind of like memories to the early days, eh?
Yeah. It's from the 94 Pink Floyd tour.
These are all older than me.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Pink
so that's
Floyd.
like, that's just, that's one of my favorites.
Do you wear that one?
Yeah, I wear that one a lot.
Okay.
I wear that one a lot. It's one of my favorites. I just love like the sun fade on it.
I mean,
like,
it's a cool looking t-shirt, man.
Yeah.
It's genuinely a nice, like, graphics aside, story aside, it's actually a nice looking t-shirt. Like, I like the thick collar. I like the
quality,
design,
the quality,
really nice, the color of it.
Yeah.
It's awesome, man.
And just nicely worn in.
Yeah, no, that's sick.
We're both car guys. This is obviously a cool one. Us, some old Mercedes Benz.
That is amazing.
Old
Mercedes Benz M Class. It's an ML predecessor to the I believe the GLE of today.
And then you got the Jurassic Park sleeve hit.
Did they actually put that car in the movie? Was that?
Yeah, that was the one that was in it. Mercedes like sponsored because I think the first one was like the Jeeps or whatever.
M Class.
I think right, like the red and yellow, like the little Jeeps they had in the first one.
Dude, this thing is sick. That is so cool. It's like a full apocalypse. Like,
and then I love how the front is just clean.
Just like Mercedes Benz. I mean, Mercedes Benz made the first vehicle ever. Like,
really?
They made the first motor vehicle on the planet. Apparently, it was obviously very simple.
The history of Mercedes Benz is crazy. How far back it goes.
It's such a,
and they're still doing it right. Like they're like there's not many new car companies that excite me, but new Mercedes Benzes still excite me.
They're cool, man. They're going on. This is their 55th anniversary year for AMG.
Wow.
So
50
for AMG, and I think the brand is maybe 65 years. AMG came shortly after it, but that's a really dope shirt.
That's a cool one.
Mercedes Benz. And then are the other items there of any particular significance?
Yeah, like there's a couple. Like this is like MC Escher. I feel like everyone knows his artwork, like the really trippy, like illusion sort of stuff.
Okay.
So this is just like a long sleeve that has like his.
Looks like it's in great
art
shape
all over it. Yeah. So this is from 1991.
Wow.
I mean, that's just interesting because it's so funny because like
that's a really nice shirt.
There's shirts like this that are art in the way that they're worn, and then there's some shirts that are like literally art. Like that's actually art on a shirt.
That's really cool. I'm looking at all like the little designs on it. Wow, I like that.
What's that? If I can reach it.
You should pull the rack closer to you if it helps.
True. Okay, this one's interesting. So, like early 90s Nike, just like cool in general. But have you heard of, Spike Lee, right?
I've heard the name. I actually don't
know
exactly what he does.
He kind of, worked with like Jordan, like Nike a lot back in the day. He's like he's a film producer though.
Yeah.
So he's like behind like, like Black Klansman.
Yeah.
That was like a Spike Lee joint. Like he was just an incredible like producer back in the day. And then this was like a collaboration that he did with Nike that was called like Urban Playground.
Yeah. So
all of it was just like the kind of like fun.
I love this,
like
dude.
Designs.
It's like embroidered and like this is held up so well.
Yeah, beautiful quality still.
Really, do you wear this one?
Yeah, I wear this one sometimes. This one's like a pretty valuable one because you don't see like the Spike Lee stuff a lot.
This is identical. Like this is a Spike Lee.
Yeah, this is like the Spike Lee.
I personally wouldn't know that this is a Spike Lee kind of like.
Yeah, because you wouldn't know from like
design.
Looking at it.
Okay.
But yeah, the whole thing was called like Urban Playground. The concept was like better together. So it was like a whole like anti-racism sort of ad campaign that was with Nike, where he's like, we're like, we play better together. Like, it was a really cool idea.
That's cool, man.
So that's also cool because it just has such a special like historical connection,
I mean, it shaped the culture.
Exactly.
In a way. Like, brands like this like shaped a lot of things. Like,
and Spike Lee himself shaped so much. Like he was an incredible film producer.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And then the last item I see is a polo ski jacket.
Yes, this one's nicknamed the Suicide Ski.
Suicide Ski.
So
like this style or this exact?
That logo. That logo is called the Suicide Ski logo. So the story with that, like, I'll do kind of a gist of it.
Yeah.
Polo became very popular, obviously, like with the preppy kind of fashion in like the late 80s. Some kids in New York City were like noticing the style, like a lot of like the street kind of kids, and realizing like they wanted this stuff but could never afford it. So they just started like stealing it from the stores. Yeah. And that was like how they like got, like they would just steal polo. And that was crazy. Like, now we're stealing like their style, And then the most sought after one was ones with the ski logo
That's like the polo ski
the
logo.
the ski logo, and it got nicknamed the Suicide Ski because if you wore one on the street, it was like suicide, because like people would try to like kill you for your jacket.
Like people were trying to rob your jacket
People
off
were
you?
trying to steal your jacket, and
Oh my
like if
God.
they had to kill you to do that, like they would, because people wanted these jackets so bad.
Because like I imagine that was probably not a cheap coat at the time.
No, I think retail on these back in the day was like $600, $700, something like that.
Oh
yeah,
my
which
God.
is like, that's back then, you know. This
is this
like
for
the late
sale?
80s.
Is this one for sale?
This one will be at some point.
Do you have a price? Do you know what it's worth?
I don't even know. I don't want to go that crazy, because like this one's got a little paint on the sleeve, you know. But
that's a dope jacket.
you know, we're not gonna, you know, like I think these still sell pretty crazy. Like I think last sale on one of these on eBay was around $400 or something. Like we wouldn't go that crazy on
Nice.
it. But
I don't imagine anyone's trying to kill you if you wear that jacket.
no, not now. Now you're good.
Nowadays
you're
you
good.
could. Yeah, because I
In
mean,
Brooklyn in the late 80s,
if we get
it
to
was
a point
different
where
time, you know,
where everyone's wearing vintage clothing, maybe the Suicide Ski will come back. And
but
you
that's
have
just
to
cool,
get
because it has such a like you know, cultural significance. Like, you
That's
know,
awesome.
the old polo culture like that really shaped like what
Mhm.
streetwear is now, and just that whole idea of like stealing styles that aren't yours. Because I think streetwear so much is that, and that's, you know, what we focus on is vintage streetwear, and like a
Mhm.
lot of it is just styles that are taken from something else, you know, whether
Yeah.
it's like sporty style or preppy, or like, you know, you see some people even wearing like the military kind of style now. It's like
yeah,
streetwear is literally just like style that's taken from something else, you know.
yeah,
So.
it's just recontextualized almost.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly.
like wearing a ski jacket to go to get groceries.
Yeah.
Because why not? That's awesome, dude. Well, thank you for sharing these
no,
pieces.
thank
Thank you for bringing the pieces.
Dude, yeah, I just wanted to bring some stuff that was like, I don't know, just special items to me,
I
or
love
had like
it.
cool stories. Obviously, the Harley is like the main.
I love that. That's the Harley
cool
shirt.
story.
That's the one that's going on in a frame at the store.
I wish there was more of these that I knew the stories on, but yeah, a lot of this is just stuff that
Mhm.
we don't really know where it came from.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like you're gonna continue to find these items, or these items. I feel like they're gonna they find you in a way.
In a way,
In
yeah.
a
I
way
mean,
they
that's
find you.
honestly, that's probably the most fun part of our job. Like, I'd love being in the store and
Mhm.
love like interacting with people, but like,
Yeah.
man, I love finding this stuff.
Mhm.
I love hunting for it.
Must be a very satisfying process.
It
And
is.
thank you for kind of taking us through it a bit.
My pleasure.
And
My
sharing
pleasure, man.
and you know, reminding us how everything we do has an impact. Everything we consume has an impact, and it's just good to be kind of conscious of that impact in what we're doing. And I'm definitely going to consider that next time I need clothes or want to change out my wardrobe.
That's it, man.
I'm going to think twice, because again,
just
yeah.
opening your eyes to it. That's all it takes, you know. Even if it's just one item, you start by buying used, you know, like
Yeah.
you can
Just a
start
t-shirt,
making your part, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome, Luke. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for your time. Thank you for being on this episode. That was
Thank you,
a fun
Ramsey.
episode.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be here,
That
man.
was a good time. Thank you for listening. Honestly, I'm grateful for the people that are listening, and I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I hope that it's entertaining you and bringing you value, and just, you know, inspiring you to go and be the unique, amazing person that you are. So this has been Luke Webster. I almost called you by your Instagram name. Luke Webster. I know he's Luke Webby. Luke Webster on The Creatives, episode 8. Again, this show is powered by Pano Media. All the production tools powered by Pano Media. And the show is sponsored by Midnight Hour Studios, which is where we are right now. It's a studio in Ottawa that you can rent for your productions, your photo shoots. And you could do more than just videos and photo shoots in here. I'm sure you can get creative and record whatever you want to do. They have amazingly given us a discount code to get 25% off your first booking in this beautiful studio. It's in the middle of Ottawa. It's at 174 Colonnade. So check that out. All the information will be in the description. Check out the Discord channel. It'll be linked down below. It's a community of like-minded individuals, and sometimes we'll post the episodes there first. Actually, often we'll post the episodes there before they go anywhere else. So you'll get first access to the episodes before they get distributed to all the platforms. And if you want to make contact with us, you can find us on Instagram at TheCreatives. You can find Luke and Bad Dog on Instagram. I will tag all of that in the description of where you're watching or listening to this. Just look in the description. You'll find everything I just mentioned. If you forgot it all, that's okay. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for existing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you to our editor, Ryan. You're a legend.
Almost got to shout out the editor.
Yeah, man, you got to shout out the editor.
The hidden hero.
The hidden hero behind. Yeah, it's fun. Editing is interesting because you get to know people, but they don't get to know you back.
Oh, I know this dude's gonna know.
So Ryan's
gonna
know you very well, and he may see you one day in the street and be like, "I know you," but
nice to meet you, Ryan.
there you go. I'll meet you one day because Ryan might go buy some vintage clothing now. Who knows? To match his dope vintage cars. Ryan has 2 Miatas, by the way, not 1, 2.
So that's investment pieces now, man.
He loves the old stuff too. It's awesome.
That's sick.
He daily winter drives a Miata.
That's sick. That's crazy.
You're a legend.
Madman.
Yes. So thanks everybody, and we'll see you on the next episode.